Next part of this section. If you're watching this before dinner, you may be hungry because we are going to talk about the sandwich theorem. Some people call it the squeeze theorem, but that's not as much fun. So, the sandwich theorem says this, okay? And if as soon as you look at that, this may be your face, but it's not that bad. It's actually pretty easy. You have two functions, and you sandwich one in between them, and it makes your limits a lot easier. All right, so let me move down here. Basically, you have two different functions. So for this example, we have x squared, and we have negative x squared. And then what we do is we find another function, or sometimes we're given that function, that for everywhere, this function lies in between the other two. This makes our limits really easy because we know the limit as x approaches 0 of x squared is just 0. We know the limit as x approaches 0 of negative x squared is also 0. So this tells us that the limit of f of x as x approaches 0 is also 0, and we don't have to do any work to try to figure that out. Alright, so if you think about it like bread, maybe that's a little bit easier. We have our middle function, we have our top function, and we have our bottom. So as long as the meat part, the salami or the peanut butter and jelly, is in between the two bread, we'll make it a little bit easier to do our limits. Okay, so for example, tangent of x over x. This isn't one of our special trig limits that we had to remember, but we could use the sandwich theorem to help us figure out different things. Okay, like we know 1 over cosine. The limit as x approaches 0 of 1 over cosine of x. Well, cosine of 0 is 1, so that would be 1. Okay, the limit of as x approaches 0 of sine of x over x. We know that as one of our trig limits. That's just 1. So if we can show that tangent of x over x lies in between that in some certain region, then we can evaluate that by the sandwich or squeeze theorem that the limit of tangent of x over x equals 1 as well. Okay, so usually this is how you're going to see the problems. If something, find a limit. Okay, we don't know what g of x is, but we know it sits in between these two functions. So we're trying to find the value of as the limit as x approaches -1. Then we just have to make sure that the limit of the two outside functions are approaching the same number. If they are, then we're squeezing or sandwiching those functions together, and we could get the limit of the third. So the limit as x approaches -1 of -3x, that would be 3. The limit as x approaches -1 of x squared plus x plus 3 would be 1 minus 1 plus 3, so we get 3. So since that and that, the limit by the squeeze theorem, I guess I should put that by the squeeze or sandwich theorem. By the squeeze theorem, the limit of g of x as x approaches -1 is also 3. So that's it. This is this whole section. You're done your first set of videos. Make sure you complete a whisk for this video, and also you can now do all of the problems for this worksheet. So remember, you should be spending some time working on the worksheets, especially if you have a short video for the day. All right, see you in class.